Hello, everyone. It's Leo once again. Welcome to the Leo Show. Today, I wanted to talk to you guys about Bill Maher. Let's have this compilation of him playing here. Bill Maher, if you know me, you know that I hate Bill Maher. I think Bill Maher is a terrible comedian. I don't think he's funny. I don't think he has any traits. He's not handsome. He's not particularly talented. I don't know how he got his career started. I really don't like Bill Maher, but I think Bill Maher is important. I think that Bill Maher is an important voice for a political faction in the U.S., and that's why I think it's important to review his work. For these reasons, we're going to be reviewing him today. I think that it's important to keep up with this guy who is a voice of the establishment. But before we get into it, please like, comment, and subscribe. It helps a lot more than you know. I really enjoy doing these live streams here, and it'd be great to get more people to enjoy them with me. So, Bill Maher, worst guy on TV? Maybe, possibly, probably. I'd probably put him in the top 10 at least. Bill Maher is terrible. He's terrible. But again, I want to explain this to you guys in a way that makes sense. Bill Maher is not there for no reason. Bill Maher is on TV because he needs to be on TV. Someone in the Democratic establishment, someone in the U.S. government, someone in Hollywood needs Bill Maher on TV because he plays a very important function. This ugly man here plays a function which is that of I guess you'd say a political thinker, but without a lot of intellectualism, right? It's a very lowbrow show, despite what he will have you believe. It's really something where I think that he is a sort of avatar or talisman, more of a guide, really. A guide where he is fed, or he genuinely is this dumb and believes what he says, certain things in order to shift the Democratic Party and Democratic politics in the U.S. in a certain direction. Now, that's just my opinion. But let's see. I have some facts here that I think will help you guys see what I'm referring to here. So, one of the key metrics that are important for Hollywood in general, if you haven't worked in Hollywood, right, is ratings. And ratings are harder to calculate nowadays than they were in the past because obviously streaming and all this. But we should use the generally accepted ratings as a judge of what is popular and unpopular. So I pulled up here Real Time with Bill Maher. That's his flagship, well, not his flagship show. That's his self-titled show, right? His flagship show would have been Politically Incorrect in the 90s. This has been on the air since 2003. These are the ratings over time. As we can see, the peak, unfortunately, we only start here in 2022. But let's just see. The peak since 2022 was 947,000 people. This is already a bad number for TV. If you're getting 1 million views for a show that he supposedly puts in the work for a whole week, that's a bad show. But at the current moment, we can see the ratings are 541,000. Now, these are good views for someone on YouTube, right? They're very good views, actually, for someone on YouTube. That's fine. The problem here is that he is on network TV. Well, I guess not network, HBO, right? And the fact that he has dipped below this number in the past, almost less than 500,000 people watching his show, is a key fact. You need to realize look, you guys know I love Baudrillard at this point. The world around you is completely manufactured to control you in some ways. Not to get too Andrew Tate, whatever, right? But it's true. The world around you is manufactured in order for you to hold certain opinions, hold certain beliefs. Noam Chomsky spoke of this, despite me not really liking him. So when we look at a show like this that is such a miserable failure, we have to know that there's something else going on here. That's why I watch Bill Maher. Aside from the fact that, I'd love to quote here from the classic Denzel film.
This is a newspaper, right? It's 90% bullshit, but it's entertaining.
It is somewhat entertaining. It is bad TV. It is something that you should be ashamed of for watching. I definitely get shamed for watching this stuff because it's just crap. It's slop. I'm a piggy going to the Bill Maher slop, okay? Every Friday I load up my Bill Maher and I eat his slop. It's just something I like to do, right? It's part of the ritual. When he's not on air, I'm actually more mad than when I watch him on air. It's just a compulsion. It's not good. I wish I didn't do it. Normally people go away from things they hate. Friends have seen me watching Bill Maher and told me, how can you watch this? You're getting so agitated. But, I don't know. I don't know. It's a compulsion. But also, maybe it's my cope. I think that this stuff has value. I think it has value in some way. I think that this will give you real insight into particularly how the Democratic establishment is thinking. Because if you think about Bill Maher and his politics, he presents himself as a radical because, he smokes weed, man. Smoke a doobie. All this fucking crap. All this crap, sorry about that, about weed and garbage is supposed to make him so good, right? So interesting, so unique, so libertarian. He's voted for every Democratic president. Even if he hasn't said this, he's voted for Obama, he voted for Clinton, he voted for Biden, he voted for Kamala, he donated $1 million to the Obama campaign. If you don't see that Obama was a scam at this point, even if you're a Democrat, if you are still a loyal Democrat today, I have some bad news for you. I have some bad news, which is this. You are in a battered wife situation. I'm sorry, but you are a battered wife if you are a Democrat. You are a slave.
This is exactly what I'm talking about, the slave mentality, the slave mind.
And I want to be your dad or your brother or your cousin, the guy that, she just got battered again by this horrible man, and you knock on the door and, he's a good guy. They're not a good guy. He's a bad guy. Leave him. Please leave him. You're going to hurt yourself by staying with this guy. I'm telling you this because we may not agree on everything. Maybe you like Portuguese food more than Italian, and I like Italian more than Portuguese. But I love you. I don't want you to damage yourself by remaining a loyal Democrat. Now, immediately, so are you saying I have to be MAGA? No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying reclaim your time, reclaim your brain, and do not give it to this party that obviously hates you. That obviously there are good people that are Democrats. There are people who just want, I may disagree, single payer healthcare, right? But they want some healthcare reform, right? I want some healthcare reform. Maybe we don't see it the same way, but they're not going to do it for you. I can't stress that enough. The Democratic Party is the oldest political party on this planet. And it is in a position right now where it lost to a guy who, if you believe the narrative, which was put on everywhere, led an insurrection that tried to overthrow a democratically elected government. I'm not saying you have to agree or disagree with that, but that was on the news for 4 years. And they put up a senile man and we don't want to get slanderous here, but a woman that looks like she could have some sort of problem. Okay, some sort of problem with a substance. That's what it looks like. I'm not making an accusation. There are people that look like that, and she looks like that, okay? If you didn't watch those debates and just the way, all that stuff, I'm telling you that woman had a problem. And they told you that he was a fascist. They told you that he was going to do terrible things. And he probably is doing them. I'm not following it so closely, all right? I'm not a Trump fan. I like some of the stuff, but I'm not a fanboy, okay? But they told you that he was a bad guy, that he was going to destroy your country, make it impossible for you to do your regular life. And they let him win by putting up terrible candidates. So that's why I implore you, my poor sister, daughter, whatever, please leave this man. He doesn't care about you. He hates you. He's not going to change. This is a bad man who is only going... You're going to end up like the story in Breaking Bad that Mike tells. That's what's going to happen to you. And I don't want that to happen to anyone. I honestly don't think that loyalty to any political party at this point, and it's moving this direction, is smart. I think it's very antiquated. I think it's very kitsch. I think it's very weird if you're a loyal anything. Except for, I guess, like the brain scan needing libertarians, right? I mean, they're always going to be loyal to the Libertarian Party or, I don't know, something. So, let's look at why I'm on Bill Maher's case again. If you haven't watched my Bill Maher video, please watch it. All right, this is the clip that went viral this week. I'm pulling up here the best part. So, Bill Maher here is interviewing David Mamet, who's a writer. I like some of the David Mamet books, actually. I like David Mamet. He's a good writer. I don't know much about the man personally. I've seen him on Bill Maher before. I just assume he's a standard California lib, and that is fine. It's okay to be that, okay? Especially to the Republicans. It's fine to be a regular lib. So let's watch here what happened when Bill Maher had David Mamet on.
It's a ringer. That's called a ringer. Yeah. You're not really supposed to be in that game. And Trump invited that in a way nobody else ever did in American politics. I'm not saying he's a Russian spy. I don't think that. I even think he really wants to make America great. I do. I don't agree with how he's doing it. And he certainly feathers his own nest in a way no president has ever even come close to doing. What he's selling, the Bitcoin, have dinners with the open bribery that goes on. Okay, people don't seem to care about that. But he certainly invited another country to do things, and they took advantage of it, of course.
How?
Would it have made a difference? I don't know.
How did they take advantage of it?
Well, Trump's campaign manager was sharing polling data with a GRU agent.
Before we go down the Russiagate rabbit hole, if you haven't watched this podcast before, enough people have done material on this. It's funny, but just imagine if Bill Maher invites you to his house and he goes, let's come down to my basement. And you go down to this basement, especially in the early episodes. You sit down in these chairs with Bill Maher and he's serving you drinks and getting inebriated and buzzed on narcotics. It'd be like that scene in Zodiac, when they go into the basement. Just terrifying. Run if you're in that position.
Maybe.
Well, okay, that's something that, even Nixon didn't do that.
Wait, this is the first that I've heard. A, and B, if it's true, and I'm not saying that it is, how did that influence the election?
Well, we know that Russia would put things on the internet that weren't true just to get people fighting, that kind of stuff.
This narrative here is, again, why I'm telling you to stop being a Democrat. If they are still talking to you about this Russia stuff, even if it was true, if they're mentioning this, then they don't care about winning. This was a losing issue when it first came out. No one cared about it. You know this. And if you're still harping on about this, you don't care about your voters. You don't care about people that would vote for your party, Democrats. And this man is 10 years on talking about this. And it is so cartoony that we're going to see here to what level it gets and how Mamet rebuffs him.
Stuff.
Like what?
You know, they would say, like, you know, the Pope, they would put up some meme about, you know, the Pope is backing Trump. It wasn't true, but people believed it, and then they started to fight over it.
Here's my question. When last we spoke several years ago, you were stuck on this issue. You're still stuck on it. How come?
Because it's not been resolved.
This has been resolved. And if it hasn't been resolved legally, it has been resolved at the ballot box. This is a completely correct criticism of Bill Maher and the whole Democratic Party. This has been resolved. If you haven't resolved it, then shut up, go to a monastery, and write a book about how Russia influenced the 2016 election. Go do that. But when you're telling people the same slop from 10 years ago, you can't, you are a battered wife if you stay with this person.
So wait, what is it that hasn't been resolved?
The asymmetry of American elections. The fact that if one party, the Republican Party, wins the election, the other party goes, okay, you win some, you lose some, and they go home. So Hillary Clinton went home, Kamala Harris went home.
Yeah.
You can't imagine.
This narrative has always bothered me as well, because there was not a resounding conclusion from all Democrats on the 2000 election. I'm from Florida, so I don't remember this period vividly, but it was important in my life. Whatever you think about the Supreme Court decision, this was a decision that was taken and resolved. Yet in Congress, let's see if we can pull up video of this. Let's see if we can pull it up. In Congress, when Gore was supposed to be taking when he was certifying the election, there were Democrats yelling that that he won.
California, Ms. Waters, arise.
Mr. Vice President, I rise to object to the fraudulent 25 Florida electoral votes.
Is the objection...
This isn't some dumb Democrat that no longer is around. This Democrat's still around today in the government.
in writing and signed by a member of the House and a senator.
The objection is in writing, and I don't care that it is not signed by.
So this is all crap that this ugly little man is feeding you. It's crap. It's garbage. It's a lie. He's lying to you. He's lying to you. And this isn't a both sides thing where I'm trying to be, oh, there's two sides to the coin. No, I'm just telling you, you have to be honest with yourself. It is always a good policy to be honest with yourself. Visualization is another thing. Maybe that's a little dishonest, but you should be honest with yourself just for life. So he's lying.
Trump ever going home.
Wait,
if he had lost
excuse me. Now what you're doing is injecting metaphysics into what might be a matter of. So is the question is not what he did. The question is not even what he might do. What you've just said is one can't imagine what he would do. But on the other hand...
No, I don't have to imagine what he did in 2020, which was never concede the election. I'm not even
Dude, he didn't have to concede the election. He lost. If somebody is beaten in a prize fight and the other guy gets the belt, the person who's beaten does not have to concede. It's not necessary. He's lost.
Well, it is necessary. The analogy falls down because that if a prize fighter loses, it doesn't inspire people to riot.
How did he inspire people to riot?
By not conceding the election.
Oh, come on.
That's also not true. At a basic level, if you've watched boxing, if you've watched any sport, you know that this isn't true. When people lose and when people win, it inspires people to riot. This is, you'll notice that Bill Maher does this a lot, where he gets into these minutiae. I don't know why he does it. And it's just to discredit your argument. And it's always the tiniest little things. And they never work because it's crap. If Mike Tyson lost a fight, I wouldn't be surprised if some people rioted back in the day. Okay? Because when sports teams lose, sometimes things happen. And if politics is the new sports, well, then what do we expect? But regardless, this is just this is the most sound logic from a California lib. I never understood this thing about conceding an election. The reality is all that matters. This is why he brings in the word metaphysics, which I think is actually applicable. I wouldn't have thought of including that here. I wouldn't have thought of including metaphysics in something so material, but it's true. What does it matter what one does if the outcome happens? It does not matter. It doesn't matter.
Come on. Oh, come on.
What?
Come on. So wait a second. He didn't say the words "I concede," and so that meant people rioted?
Yes. What do you think January 6th was
What
about?
do you think January 6th was?
It was about people who did not hear their leaders say,
I didn't know Bill Maher was a lawyer or a prosecutor, because here it seems that he's ascribing motive to people that he has never met. I don't know if that's why people rioted. Sometimes there's also something that happens in postmodernity where we have to ascribe meaning to everything. That whole everything happens for a reason thing, it comes from that, unfortunately. Everything does not happen for a reason. Sometimes things just are. Other cultures outside of the U.S. understand this pretty well. And that's just reality. You know, you go to, I don't know, a farmer in Venezuela who lost his home and his family in a mudslide. And you ask him, why did this happen? He's not going to say everything happens for a reason. He's going to go, it happened because it happened. Because sometimes things just happen. And we don't know what happened or why people were motivated to do certain things. On an individual level, it's incredibly difficult. Why do you think that trials take so long? Motive is one of the hardest things to prove. And you're going to tell me a whole group of people you're going to cast judgment on motive? Where did that law degree come from, Bill Maher?
every other leader in this country has said after an election, okay, I lost. We welcome the new guy. We had disagreements, but now we're all Americans. When Obama took over, George Bush stood next to him and he said, we want you to succeed, because when you succeed, Trump didn't do any of that.
Okay, so what?
Well, so what? It inspires half the country to not accept the basic democratic principle that we have elections, and when you lose, you go away, and then you become the loyal opposition. They don't see themselves as the loyal.
You like me have built a career out of nothing except talent and a little bit of luck and a lot of hard work, but you're full of shit. What I don't understand.
I love that. You are full of shit. That's why he can only smile and nod, because that's what he is. He has been for years. That is the most underhanded compliment, and it's perfect for Bill Maher. He is so full of shit, in his words. I'm not cursing needlessly. He is. That's perfect, perfect, perfect. It's so nice to hear someone say it.
And where you say that he did not say the words "I concede" caused half the country, which you just said, to riot.
No, I didn't say half the country rioted. A lot of people rioted, and it was less than half the country because he got less than half the votes and still won.
Again, so what does this mean for the 2000 election, where things happened on the other side that were the same rhetoric, just in Congress it was dressed up nicer? I guess that's what matters to Bill Maher, appearances. If George Bush, a war criminal, hands over the office to Barack Obama, a scammer at best president, then it's all good. But if George Bush says, oh, I want Barack Obama to fail, then it's bad. As long as it's literally the Dark Knight. It's literally the Joker. We live in Joker world. It's insane. Like, it doesn't make any sense. If I tell you that a truckload of soldiers is going to be blown up, nobody panics. Literally, this is what politics has become. Joker world crap. As long as things look good, then that means that things are good.
And that's okay. That's our system. But a good deal of the country, approaching half, the people who are MAGA, the people who love him, at least a third of the country, will now in the future never accept any electoral results. And a democracy can't continue in that way. You have to have this situation we've always had where the one football coach walks across the field and shakes the hand with the coach who just beat him in the game.
Okay,
as
what
tough
do you
as it
think
is.
we'd be today if Kamala Harris had won?
What's that?
What do you think we would be today if Kamala Harris had won?
Well,
What would happen? Would Israel still exist? I don't think so.
still exist, of course. Why wouldn't they exist?
Why wouldn't they exist? Because the Obama Marxist, Leninist, Islamists that were taken up during the... Here's a good question that I would ask you, is who was running the country during the 4 years that Biden was out of his mind and demented?
Well, he wasn't out of his mind and demented for 4
He was out of his... And I'm so glad that he used these words, Mamet, because I have had it with cognitive decline. That is a BS term that was cooked up in some lab. He was a demented freak. That's what Joe Biden was, a demented freak for 4 years. You have to be honest with yourself. You have to be honest. Some of the Joe Biden policies, I'm sure, were great. I didn't follow politics in that period very much in terms of the policy stuff because I didn't think we had a president, really. So I didn't think it was relevant. But this cognitive decline word, get it out of your mouth. That's crap. That's made up. He was a demented freak.
4 years. He probably wasn't out of his mind or demented even on the last day. He just did The View.
He did The View. How someone can sit there and just lie like that. My big debate when I'm up at 4 a.m. staring at the ceiling sometimes, I think, is Bill Maher stupid or is he just a liar? And I think that maybe a liar. See the chat here. Audio vibes. Same. I stopped following politics for most. Yeah, those 4 years were terrible in terms of following because I don't know. I guess you could have followed if you felt really strongly about it. I didn't feel anything in those 4 years.
Did the Democrats do a horrible thing in propping him up and keeping him in office and trying to run him again? Yeah, they did. Of course. I am never easy on the Democrats or the left. And I'm totally with you on Israel, but they would, of course, still exist.
So they did something horrible. He's admitting it right there. So where is the moral unequivalency? How is it any different?
Because they can defend themselves. But you said things like, liberals have never done anything for Israel. That's bullshit. Harry Truman recognized Israel when many people told him not to.
Excuse me, I never said that.
Yeah, you did.
Show it to me, and I'll tell you what. Show it to me, and I'll give $10,000 to the charity of your choice. No, wait, no.
Okay.
He's literally lying to someone who I assume is his friend in some way, to his face. He didn't say that about Israel.
I'm serious.
I'll find
wait
it.
a second.
I'll find it.
You're pretty good.
I'll find it.
Good. I'm going to give $10,000. You show it to me, and I will give $10,000 to the charity of your choice. Okay. Because you're throwing around a lot of generalizations, and I have a bigger question.
Not generalization.
Oh, really?
What's the generalization?
That half the country would have rioted?
If I got that quote wrong, I apologize, and I will take it back.
I got another question. I sit down, and all of a sudden you're attacking me about I have to come up with a new idea about Trump, and I have to talk. No. What the hell do you care? Okay. Let me ask you a question. Wait
First
a second.
of all,
he cares because he's a plant, because he's there to scramble your brains. That's my theory, at least.
It was not my plan to attack you, and I'm sorry if you think I'm attacking you.
Well, okay,
we just got onto this, and I'm sorry that I'm not going to pretend that I agree with you.
Well, I'm not asking you to agree with me, but I got a good question. How you started off with a very difficult question, and a question which you have very strong views, and I do too. How would you like this part of the conversation to end, so that we can move on to something else? What would end it to your satisfaction?
Well, we're at the 20 minutes.
This is perfect. I think that you should say this to any Democrat stooge or establishment person that you care about in your life. Do not fight people over politics. It's not worth it. You will not change minds. There's no point to it. this is a great approach. How do you want this conversation to end? Honestly, how do you want Bill Maher's show to end? That'd be great.
Minute mark, so we could just end it. Because
Okay. What would end it to your satisfaction?
when you want it to end. I don't want to piss you off. I'm
No.
your biggest fan.
You,
I don't. The fact that we don't agree on something so fundamental is still completely okay with me. I don't get it the way you don't get me. You just said I'm completely full of shit. And of course, people who disagree to this level, they think that of the other person. And what we have to do is, of course, learn to live harmoniously with people we just don't agree with that much. So we can just...
Agreement is different than someone who's full of shit. When you're dealing with someone dishonest like Bill Maher, if they'll lie to you about this, imagine if you lent Bill Maher your lawnmower. That'd be terrible being neighbors with Bill Maher, right? Even if it's in Beverly Hills, imagine that. Bill Maher's your neighbor, just coming up to you and harassing you on Saturdays. You know, spend time at whatever. But just imagine that, right? Someone so dishonest, such a liar, such an ugly little freak liar, just lying to you, to your face about your own words. How can you coexist? It's just so, it's hard. It's hard. You have to do it. I'm not saying anything, implying anything. You have to coexist with people that are full of shit, as Bill Maher is. But it's not a disagreement. He's framing it as a disagreement. No. You're a liar. You're ugly. I can't accept that.
just get past this. You're right. We should, and I'm happy to. And there's a million things in here and in the movie that I think are great, and I would love to talk about.
Go ahead.
If you, okay. Club Random is brought to you by...
That's enough. I don't know what this is. He keeps advertising this. If anyone knows what this is, please let me know. I've seen people say that he has a stake in this or something. It's such an odd thing to advertise here. But let's get to the next part, which I think flew under everyone's radar. For the context, Bill Maher, as I said, he's an establishment shill, and he never disagrees with the party line. If you don't recall that period in the 2010s where the Me Too movement started, Bill Maher played a role in that. He platformed Ronan Farrow. He spoke about it a lot. Bill Maher's a guy who was friends with Hugh Hefner, who spent a lot of time at the Playboy Mansion. I'm not making accusations. I'm just saying, listen, man, if we're doing a movement about people who have had their cars stolen, I don't want the guy who's friends with the guy who's been rumored to have a ring of car theft goons under him to be the guy doing my thing. That's what Bill Maher was doing. Hugh Hefner, if you don't know this, and some of it came out after, and people were, because there were, look, Me Too was complicated. I didn't agree with a lot of Me Too. I thought a lot of it was actors just BSing and lying and trying to get a step up in their career. A lot of rats.
Good morning, rat.
And look, you don't have to agree with all of it, but there were some legit Me Too cases, in my opinion. One of them was Hugh Hefner, which was never really done because they brought it up after he had passed. Hugh Hefner was a weirdo. He was a freak. Read the Reagan report on pornography. Read it. Hugh Hefner was a weirdo. What was the point of the Playboy Mansion? I don't know. Look up Playboy Mansion phone scanners. Maybe something will come up. But you can't brag about your relationship with Hugh Hefner as an unmarried, again, always Bill Maher unmarried, childless weirdo, and then be a Me Too guy. I just can't accept it. I think that it's really, really weird. I think it's weird. But people accepted it, right? I mean, I mean, Bill Maher didn't have any scandals, right? If you don't know why that is, look up Bill Maher's girlfriend. So let's learn about that. I won't get into that here. So, what is Bill Maher doing this week? Well, the Democratic Party has a problem with men. This is clear at this point. If you haven't heard this, then you are a weird loyal Democrat, because you should know this at minimum. That's why you guys got Tim Walz, who was obviously a normal man with nothing weird about him. Totally normal man. Men don't like the Democratic Party. Men, for the most part, in retrospect, and women as well, have kind of turned on the Me Too movement. They thought it was excessive. Could have told you at the time, even though I was 15 years old, but all right. Regardless, now what's happening, and I've noticed this, it's a little bits in articles, a little bit in videos that the DNC and just Democrat operatives are putting out. They're trying to put this genie back in the bottle. And it's not going to work. But I think that the important signal this last week was Bill Maher's new rule. If you don't know, new rule is it's an unfunny segment that Bill Maher does every week on his show. And here he's talking about P. Diddy. I don't know how you feel about P. Diddy. P. Diddy should be locked up and they should throw away the key, in my opinion. Even if those accusations are not all 100% legit, P. Diddy, just by virtue of being a weird deviant, should not be on the streets. Donald Trump said he might pardon him, that he would consider pardoning him depending on the case. That's very shameful of him to say. P. Diddy's a freak. A freak and a weirdo. So, I noticed when Trump said that, okay, I've seen some pushback on the P. Diddy accusations, mostly from the fringe. Now, Bill Maher is defending P. Diddy. Was Bill at any freak-offs? I don't know. So let's watch here his new rule. By the way, have you noticed on Bill Maher, since I guess they shoot it in 4K, 8K now, the makeup just looks terrible on him? He's really showing his age. Yes, QWERTY. We're going to talk about Al Franken. Don't worry about it. So, let's get into it here.
Finally, new rule, the Me Too movement, which turns 8 years old in October, needs an actual new rule. An amendment, if you will. Now, I'm sure with all the important world-changing news that's going on lately, very few of you have had time to pay attention to the P. Diddy trial going on in New York. I'm joking, of course. The moon could crash into the earth, and that trial would still be the first thing I'd click on, and I'm sure you're no different. I gotta say, this Diddy is a really hard guy to figure out. He's allegedly so jealous of Kid Cudi just dating Cassie that he firebombs his car, and it wasn't even a Tesla. But then he pays another man so we can watch.
If you find that funny, go get an MRI. None of his jokes are funny. They're not funny. The smugness, the all right, pause, look at camera, disgusting. Disgusting. It's not funny. It's crap.
Watch the guy fuck her right in front of him. Love is complicated. And that's where we must start. We need to keep two thoughts in our head at once. One, Diddy is a bad dude. Really bad. Like the worst thing in rap since Hammer Pants.
Who are these? This is like the nightclub comedian that's still doing jokes about Monica Lewinsky or something. Who is finding this funny? Unless the audience is literally all, I don't know, 60-year-olds, I don't know who finds this stuff funny. He just said the word hammer pants. What is funny about that? Yeah, they wore that. The parachute pants, MC Hammer, they wore that. It's not funny anymore. It's been 20 years, 30 years.
A violent, sick fuck. I'm sorry, I mean an alleged violent, sick fuck. And we should lock him up and throw away the baby oil. And two, things have changed enough so that moving forward, the rule should be, if you're being abused, you gotta leave right away. Now, I completely understand why in the past women often did not do that. I understand, as counterintuitive as it seems, why an abused woman would send complimentary texts or emails to her abuser after the abuse. In an era where women felt, for good reason, that OG predators like Bill...
If you're not getting this mealy-mouthed thing he's doing already, he's couching everything because he can't speak direct, because he's taking orders from people who are telling him exactly how to say this. Because he's saying this in such a mealy-mouthed way. It just makes no sense to say it this way. Either you throw out the movement or you continue with it. That's it. That's it. Now, this next part is disgusting.
Cosby and Harvey Weinstein would never be held accountable. Why not at least get something out of it? These men were surrounded by all sorts of enablers, skeptical cops, assistants who lured women into unsafe spaces, cowards who knew what was going on but didn't dare expose the person who signed their paycheck. In that scenario, it was not illogical for an abused woman to say, well, if I can't get justice for my pain, can I at least get a receipt, a coupon? But a lot has changed. Cosby and R. Kelly went to prison. Harvey Weinstein is going to die in prison.
If you're not aware, the charges against the most severe ones, Cosby and Weinstein, have been dismissed. They won. He is a comedian, supposedly, Bill Maher. Bill Cosby is a legend of a comedian. I'm not defending either of these two guys, but I'm saying in legalese, I hope that both of these men sue him. Because he is not saying allegedly. He's lying to you. He's lying. He's even lying by including R. Kelly in there. R. Kelly was obviously a bad guy, but that's the thing, he got convicted. That's why he's lying. He's including him in with two other people who have contested cases at worst. Not defending them, but this guy is lying to you. He's lying. This ugly little man is lying.
Larry Nassar is serving 175 years. Jeffrey Epstein was murdered in his jail cell by Hillary Clinton.
And here we have, I loved this show because, we have one rat. Bill
Good morning, rat.
We have another rat, Jake Tapper.
Good morning, rat.
And we have a third rat, which is, forgot this guy's name, the guy who ratted on Joe Biden, a Democrat who said that, who principled Democrat, who came out and, let's pull him up. Let's pull up who he is so you can see him. It was so funny reading the comment sections on these, because a lot of people, this other guy that was on the show,
the things we discussed.
If you read the comment section, he's one of these guys who tries to really use his military experience. Another rat.
Good morning, rat.
As Rit is saying, another rat. 3 rats.
Good morning, rat. Good morning, rat. Good morning, rat.
3 rats. Rats. Ratting out your president, ratting out your media, and the last one ratting out everyone throughout all of history, ratted out by Bill Maher. Bill Maher testified against the mafia. That's how Bill Maher, just 3 guys who are all traitors. And betrayal is the lowest ring in hell. Okay? If you read the comments here, let's see if we can scroll down and see them. It's so funny to see them talk about Moulton because he likes to flex his military service. When I was deployed, they had Seth Moulton and a couple politicians fly out so we could have lunch with our congressman. The dude was nothing but a douche, but was totally stoked to take pictures with us at the end of lunch so he could use us to look good. I was 22, and that's where my eyes opened up to what politicians really were. man, I promise you, look through that section. You'll find so many more anecdotal stories like that. And I believe them. If he's a rat now,
Good morning, rat.
against his president, why wouldn't he be one then? Let's continue.
Post-Me Too, reporting of sexual crimes is way up, as is the percent of women who say they're now more likely to speak out if victimized. And many...
Now, I want to include something here, which was mentioned in the chat, that I am so ready to do. One of the Me Too's that I also agreed with was Al Franken. If you don't remember, he was in government, and a picture came out of him grabbing a woman in her chest while she was asleep, smiling at a camera. And it was supposed to be funny. I'm not a Puritan. I have a dark sense of humor. What was funny about that? I didn't find any excuse. He's an SNL comedian, Al Franken. Must be an elite top-tier comedian. I didn't see anything funny there. And Bill Maher is buddies with Al Franken, I guess because they're both comedians. Unlike, I guess he treats him a lot better than he treats Bill Cosby. And he defended him. And I will never forget that because it was so disgusting. And let's play here the story here of what he did when Al Franken wasn't even credibly accused. There was photographic evidence of what he did. We're not playing the rest. If this pervert here, which is what Al Franken is, maybe he's reformed, is grabbing a woman's chest and smiling at the camera, and it's so funny, and it's not sexual harassment, why did Bill Maher recreate the photo with a man? I'm really confused about that. If it's so funny, and it's so not even a little bit grapey, why did he do it with a man? I need an explanation. Maybe my sense of humor isn't elite like Bill Maher's. I want to know, look at this freak. Look at his freak face. Look at this. Disgusting. What is so funny and not sexual harassment that you can't recreate it with a woman? Hypocrisy is an understatement. Look at this face. The face of a perv who defends a perv. Look at them. Made in heaven for each other. In hell, I guess. It's so funny, right? Oh, dude, it's so funny. I don't know, maybe I'm from a different generation or something. This is not funny. There are arguments about Animal House and a scene in that movie. That's a film, okay? I don't like that type of film. I think that, all right, maybe it's because I'm not white or something. Maybe white people get that movie more than I do. I find nothing against them. Nothing against them. There are white people movies out there too, and they're cool. There Will Be Blood is great. That's definitely a white people movie. Animal House, not my type of movie. Definitely a white people movie. But the controversy is about a scene in a fictional story. This is real life. This is Al Franken grabbing a woman's chest in real life and smiling at this guy. What is the joke? This guy was rightfully chased out of government. This is disgusting. What else was he doing? Because this is before the smartphone. What else was he doing? We have this freak here.
States have changed laws, making it easier for victims to come forward. We're not in the no one listens to women or takes them seriously era anymore.
No, Bill Maher doesn't listen to women. Bill Maher doesn't listen to women. So he's still in that era.
Operators are actually standing by to take your call.
Until he apologizes for what he did in defending this pervert, he is in that era. Until then. That is unforgivable in my book. And look, if you want to be dismissive, what if this is your mother or your daughter or your sister? Do you think that's funny? I'm not being a prude here. It's just not funny. I don't understand what's supposed to be funny about it. When I was a kid, I was taught to keep my hands to myself. As a child, I knew that. This would never enter my mind to do to someone when they're sleeping. Even not when they're sleeping, when they're awake. Do you just go up to a woman and grab their chest? No, you don't do that. It's inappropriate. But even sleeping, then you know what you're doing is wrong. Disgusting. He needs to apologize about that. He needs to apologize to Bill Cosby. He needs to apologize to Harvey Weinstein.
Calls. And I'm aware that it can be difficult to leave an abusive relationship. Most of what I watch on TV is the Lifetime channel. But
what is funny about... someone in the chat said there has to be fake laughs. It has to be fake laughs. Because there's always these laughs, and there's always some guy, it has to be the same guy, who's like, yeah, at some punchlines. I don't know who's doing this.
But this should be society's new grand bargain. We take every accusation seriously, but don't tell me any more about your contemporaneous account that you said to two friends 10 years ago. Tell the police right away.
And this is, again, the BS, the full of shit, as David Mamet said, Bill Maher. That is the law, and it always has been, at least in the U.S., in common law. So he's going to amend law to go back to law how it was before the Me Too movement. Because the law was not correct, but it's the correct law because we have to put that law on the books again. Because you don't understand, the original law was not a good enough law because of Me Too. But now that Me Too has happened, we can reassess our laws. And our laws can be changed to the law that was before this law. Because this new law is actually the old law. I sound like an idiot, right? That's what Bill Maher is saying to you. That's what he thinks of you. He thinks you're an idiot. That's what he thinks of you. Because if I say that to you, I sound like a schizo. I sound like a guy on the street who's trying to talk to you for a second and ask you for $1. But he's wearing a suit.
Don't wait a decade. Don't journal about it. Don't turn it into a one-woman show. And most importantly, don't keep fucking him. Your only contemporaneous notes about what he did should be the police report. It's not victim shaming to expect women to have the agency to leave toxic relationships. Quite the contrary.
And what is this? What is this? Is this victim shaming? Is this victim mocking?
To not expect that is infantilizing them. If Diddy walks free, it will be because his lawyers can point to an endless stream of text from Cassie expressing what's often called enthusiastic consent to their...
Infantilizing women. Let's do one thing real quick. I don't like to do this kind of thing. I don't like the age gap discourse. But I think it's worth doing this here. Infantilizing women. Let's look at the age of Bill Maher's girlfriends. So Bill Maher is 69 years old. Let's go to the personal life section. 69 years old. Never married. Well, obviously it's wiki. May not be completely accurate. He began dating flight attendant Coco Jensen in 2004. Let's go to someone who has a blue Wikipedia, just so we can get this to it. 2005. He began dating Karine Steffens, who is 46. What's the age gap there? That's 23 years age gap. Okay. Infantilizing woman. Oh, I think we're kind of pro-infantilizing women with Bill Maher. He dated Canadian singer Angélique Persoin in 2014. 42 years old. That is a 27 year age gap. Someone is infantilizing woman here in another sort of way. Again, I don't like this discourse or something, but if you're going to speak... But again, gloves are off for Bill Maher. I don't have to cope. Gloves are off for Bill Maher. Gloves are off for Bill Maher. You are infantilizing woman, Bill Maher, by dating woman 2 decades younger than you.
Their sex life. If you're Me Tooing someone, it doesn't help your case if you texted him, "Me too. I just want it to be uncontrollable." If you want us to think you weren't always ready to freak off, don't write, "I'm always ready to freak off." Or,
I'm telling you, that guy has to be paid or something. It just doesn't make sense. Yeah. You'll hear that across shows.
or
He's signaling there like, oh, hey, yeah, guy, you're not getting paid $10 for that. Yeah, because it was inappropriate.
wish we could have FO'd before you left. You know, one sign you're pretty comfortable with something is when you call it by its initials, like Trump with KFC, or Johnny Depp. Or Johnny Depp with B.O. I get it. Part of the allure of the music industry is you want to be a star. It's why someone moves to Miami from Kansas. It's why they built a freeway from Orange County to L.A.
Who is laughing at this? Who finds this funny?
It's why someone might run away from their small-town pastor into the arms of Father Funk. And music is, to begin with, highly sexualized. Magic doesn't strike at the office. It strikes in the studio at 3 a.m. when you're high as a kite and horny as a youth minister and everyone is sexy as shit and you're working on a song called Slut Up My Goo Machine.
Can you believe a team of writers works on this show? I assume they all have to be Bill Maher's age or something, because this is material that I don't know who finds this funny.
Of course a freak-off breaks out. Finally. But if we're going to have an honest conversation about abuse, we also have to have an honest conversation about what people are willing to do for stardom. If you want a #1 record on the chart so bad you'll take a #1 in the face, some of that is on you. And if you're doing it for love, well, come on. Oprah and Dr. Phil and every podcaster in the world have done 1 million shows by now about how abuse is not love and abusers don't change. If it happened once, there will be more of it. To pretend otherwise is like seeing one ant in the sink and thinking, oh, it's probably just the one. The singer FKA Twigs is suing Shia LaBeouf for their relentless abusive relationship. Now, I have no idea what Shia LaBeouf is like, although I've never read one single.
Let's pause here real quick. Brian says, first of all, he has some funny stuff. He has some good writing, but he's turned into a dick. I don't know what to tell you. Does it mean you need to cancel him? Listen, title of the episode is Cancel Bill Maher Show. Honestly, Brian, if they canceled this show, I would be devastated because I get so much hate entertainment out of it. So, yeah, probably shouldn't cancel it. For me, selfishly, I like to hate watch this show. I don't know, Brian. I don't know if he's funny. I haven't seen... Man, I watched his old stand-up like a decade ago. I don't remember if it was funny or not. I'm sure you're probably right, Brian. I'm sure he was funny at some point. I like the politically incorrect episodes, but I don't think he's the star that makes it funny. I think it's a kind of funny show. It made really didn't make a lot of sense. But I haven't read his books. You know what, Brian? I might do that, Brian. I might read some of Bill Maher's books. Appreciate the comment, man.
Single story about him, or he didn't sound like a dick. But by her own account, she said, the whole time I was with him, I could have bought myself a business flight plane ticket back to my 4-story townhouse in Hackney, London. Really? Then why am I reading about this? Then do that. Buy that plane ticket, even if you have to go coach. If you're literally...
Brian, you can't tell me that's funny. Anyone in chat who finds that funny, please tell me it's funny. That's not funny.
Being held captive, that's one thing. But if you're putting up with whatever for love or for your career, then you need to have a little more honesty and accountability about that. Ike Turner was a psycho, just like Diddy. But in an era where there was no movement to help her, Tina Turner somehow got away. And she did it with 36 cents in her pocket and a mobile card.
Again, this man is a lying, hypocrite, ugly little freak. The makeup on the show looks terrible on him. Maybe it doesn't do it justice watching it here. Watching it on the TV, it is so funny to watch. The powder ends right here, so it's really funny. I have a theory. I think that Bill Maher, the real reason he hates Trump so much is that he is so much like Trump. The makeup, the way of speaking, they're from similar parts of the world. They're from the Northeast, that area of New York, New Jersey. They talk very similar. I'm sure they have a similar sense of humor. I think that it's like in Nixon, the Oliver Stone movie. Let's see if we can find the quote. Man, the quote about JFK was great, where it's something like, in him, they see what they want to be, but in me, they see what they are. Yeah, I can't find it. But I think that's why Bill Maher really hates Trump. I think it's because they're so similar. Let's just play this here. I think they're so similar that Bill Maher is angry for some reason. I don't know. I think that Bill Maher and Donald Trump probably have a lot in common. I don't think that dinner was as contentious as people say. I think that, as people want to portray it, I think that they are very similar men of a similar generation, of similar values, of a similar upbringing. And that's why Bill Maher hates Trump so much, because he's so much like him. But, again, let's just look at this disgusting picture of Bill Maher again. Our Me Too champion, Me Too champion, Me Too champion, Bill Maher. Me Too. Recreating the Al Franken photo. That's all I have to say about it. If you are still a Bill Maher fan, unironically, it's like a battered wife, man. I'm praying for you. I'm praying for you. But with that, I leave you guys. We should have a stream tomorrow. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I always appreciate your likes, comments, and subscribes. I hope everyone has a great day. It's a Monday. What are you doing up? Well, on the East Coast. You should be asleep. You should be asleep. Please like, comment, and subscribe before you go to bed, though. So, with that, I leave you guys. I hope everyone enjoyed this, even people that disagreed. Let me know what you thought. Maybe I'm full of shit, as David Mamet says. I think about myself sometimes, too. And Bill Maher's a genius, and he actually cares about Me Too or something. But, everyone have a great night. Have a great Tuesday. And please